Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today's November 12th, and right now we're looking at the infrared satellite imagery. We've got Alaska, Washington, California. There's the state of Hawaii. We're looking all the way back across the Pacific Ocean here. But first, you can see we've got a storm moving into the Pacific Northwest as we speak. Actually, a couple of them. You can see this one curling up towards Haida Gwaii in western British Columbia with a cold front back across Vancouver Island. But this next system is hot on its heels, already starting to form a warm front on this system. So typical November here across Pacific Northwest. We've got system after system moving through the area. Some lightning strikes associated in this area as well. And in the extended, we continue to watch this area back here towards the dateline. Some increased tropical activity here may eventually lead to some storminess here over the next week or two. We'll take a look at those details as we go through the video here today. Taking a closer look, and you can see the lightning strikes associated with the cold front on this system here as this next one is developing down here off the California-Oregon coastline here. That's going to start to spread moisture up across the area as we go through the day today, and we'll dive into those details as we go through the video here. Let me go ahead and click on radar scope here, and you can see that cold front. Look at this lightning activity here as you go up towards the western coast of Vancouver Island. So you might hear a few rounds of thunder here and see some flashes in the sky if you're across Vancouver Island through this morning. We also may have a slight chance of a thunderstorm here as we go through tomorrow. Some colder air arriving after that frontal system moves through. Now, taking a look again here at the infrared, and then we'll dive into the channel. Is doing quite well, by the way, actually, and we're almost up towards 54,000 viewers. Maybe we'll get there today. Click like and subscribe. Again, this is all due to you guys. Thanks for everybody out there for supporting the page. And looking at, this is for Spokane yesterday, 51 miles per hour. Very impressive gust out there. The strongest yet so far this month. This is looking at Bellingham. Look at that crazy gust of 64 miles per hour. Very impressive there, folks. And you can see SeaTac coming in with a nice gust of 42 during that last storm. And let me go ahead and show you this. So you can see the 42 mile per hour gust here on SeaTac versus the 64 mile per hour gust there at Bellingham. Over twice the strength of that gust. That reaches violent storm status there for Bellingham. What a storm across some places for the northern Puget Sound. And we had 47 at my house, and about 33 or 32, I think it was the previous high gust. You can see that's double the power of that wind gust here, 47 miles per hour. And it did some tree damage out there. I still have to get the drone out and check out some downed trees in the nearby park towards my house. Anyway, back to the forecast here. Let's go ahead and look at what happened at Hoquiam, 56 miles per hour. That 54 there was the previous day there as well. So same storm there. Did not beat that max high so far this month, but 56 miles per hour, impressive gust. Portland International checking in at 34 miles per hour. Not a bad gust there, but not the lofty gusts that were happening across some of the Puget Sound and Washington State. And this is looking up for Montana and Idaho here. You can see some of these huge gusts that were going across the Rockies with that storm. You can see the gusty winds here across eastern Washington as well. And look, Livingston hit 67 miles per hour. Helena checking in at 58. Those are very strong winds out there as well. And if you want a nice affordable home weather station to record this crazy weather we get across the Pacific Northwest, click on that link down below to save 10% off. And now this is look at the NAM3 cam. This is the system kind of moving through. You can see that cold front action moving up towards Vancouver Island. Then the next system on its heels as we go on in through this afternoon and evening. Well, of course, we'll be raining on the coastal areas first, moving across the Puget Sound, and there may be some shower activity behind that. It doesn't look too exceptionally strong right now. And then this system starts to impact some of California over the next few days as well. And then we get a little bit of a break, looks like here over the next few days, but then we've got more stormy activity here coming through the extended forecast. We'll look into that in a little bit here. Here's total precipitation on last night's European run. Let's see what kind of totals we can expect as we go through the day today. You can see that rainfall occurring across western BC and Vancouver Island on in through this morning. Comes down towards the Washington, Oregon coast. Looks like Seattle probably somewhere up over 1/3 of an inch here. Higher amounts, of course, across the higher terrain, extending all the way down through southwest Oregon. Also some places expecting over an inch, and you can kind of see the rain shadow activity going on across eastern Washington there as well. So this stops about Tuesday morning. As you can see, that storm starting to impact portions of California as we go through the end of the European run there. But I'll cover that later in the California Weather Watch page video. Taking a look at the NAM3 cam, this is accumulated 10-meter max wind gust. So what is coming in today? As you can see, it's not nearly as strong a storm as the last round, but some blustery conditions can be had across the Puget Sound, maybe 40 mile per hour plus gusts up towards the San Juans there, Strait of Georgia, Washington, Washington, Oregon coast, but otherwise kind of a typical blustery day for November as we go on into tomorrow. Now, this is looking at a wider view of things here. This is the Hawaiian Islands. There's Washington. There's Alaska there. This is yesterday afternoon's European run here. So I'm going to put it into motion. You can see the system moving through here today. Storm drops down towards California. Then a little bit of a break here, but then we're watching the tropics out here. As you can see, a lot of moisture with an atmospheric river kind of pointed at the Pacific Northwest. And yesterday afternoon's GFS put a very powerful storm in the Pacific Northwest as well. They're kind of been shifting back and forth anywhere between Oregon and all the way through South Alaska with this storm and where it's going to go. So that's kind of what we're watching here over the next few days. And then as we go into the extended, some of the models are hinting at some Arctic air sitting up across some of British Columbia here and out over the Gulf of Alaska and Alaska itself. But there's huge amounts of discrepancy in model to model run with that. And we'll just kind of watch it for now, and we get to, just play that out day by day. Now we're looking at the GFS here on the 12Z run. I'm going to update this, and we're going to go ahead and go over here, and we're going to check out yesterday afternoon's run, and we're going to do that. And you can see the 12Z run here. This is hot off the presses versus the 0Z run as of yesterday afternoon. And here goes our system into the Pacific Northwest there. It'll be impacting today and tomorrow. And then you can see the system drop down for California. But now we're looking off towards the extended a little bit here, and you can see the next system start to roll towards the Pacific Northwest. Here's yesterday afternoon's. You can see it kind of brings that system in towards the Pacific Northwest here. A very strong storm, a very intense cyclone would move into the Pacific Northwest here. But you can see kind of the differences on this morning's run as well. So that storm would be pointed a bit further north. Doesn't really show that little breaking wave there as this moves in, but a strong atmospheric river maybe moving into British Columbia here, and then eventually the Pacific Northwest. So all kinds of scenarios still in play through the extended forecast, but looks like an active period will continue as we go on into the mid to later portions of November. And this is what I've been talking about the last couple of days. Looks like a phase of the Madden-Julian Oscillation is traversing across Pacific, probably giving rise to that stormy pattern here for at least a time across the Pacific Northwest. And then you can see it kind of move over Central and Southern America there, and then it will reemerge over Africa, eventually the Indian Ocean, some of the maritime continent as we go into December, and then maybe back out over the Pacific Ocean. The Madden-Julian Oscillation circles the planet about every 30 to 60 days here, enhanced convection. And it's similar to what El Nino does as well. El Nino will enhance convection across the equatorial Pacific, and the Madden-Julian Oscillation kind of traverses within that. Sometimes El Nino can actually mask that Madden-Julian Oscillation there. And I'm probably going to be doing another El Nino update here in the next few days as well. And I'll try to include much of the West Coast in that, so stay tuned for that video. This is looking at the European. This is the 06Z run, wide view of things, and this goes out only 144 hours, but I wanted to show you the system here today, and then the California storm down there. And at the very end of the run here, you can kind of see that activity start to get going here across some of the date line there for some deeper tropical convection, which probably will keep us active. Typical November stuff here. Looking at Seattle, Tacoma, you can see during that time frame here, some huge windstorms continue to show up in the individual ensemble runs. This is yesterday afternoon's run there. I think that is a 72 mile per hour gust here. Some very intense storms moving into some of the area here. But of course, you can see the discrepancy with each individual ensemble run. The control only showing 30 miles per hour, but it kind of shows that hint of that stormy pattern emerging at that point. This would be Friday Harbor, same thing there. And this is up towards Vancouver Island, some big gusts intermixing in there as well. Now, taking a look here at the European as of yesterday afternoon, this is 850 millibar temperatures, 5,000 feet. What I want to point out here is that we have the potential for some Arctic air up across northern areas, the Yukon, Alaska, and British Columbia. Whether this is going to get far enough south to impact some of the Pacific Northwest, who knows at this point, but you can see we are looking way off into the future right now, but you can see that colder air bubbling around up here in the week plus time period. So that's something we'll be watching here over the next few days as well to see if we can get some model agreement. But you can see the European showing some pretty chilly air up there across British Columbia. It can spawn some powerful storms, or it can bring some colder air down into the region, some nice mountain snowfalls, and if we're really lucky, maybe some lower elevation stuff might showing up in the extended forecast. Purely fantasy at this point. And this is looking at mean sea level pressure here in the European ensemble control as of yesterday afternoon. So there goes our system, storm for California there. And then it shows some of the storm activity as we go through the extended. And that's the one we're kind of watching here. It keeps showing up with a pretty decent windstorm towards some of the Pacific Northwest there, but it's going to be huge model to model run disagreement. And then you can see that Arctic high set up there. So it gives you a nice representation of what's going on at the surface there. As you can see, some of the Arctic air trying to sag south across British Columbia towards Washington State, but purely fantasy at this point. You might hear some chatter about that on social media. So just trying to get ahead of that. Do not get caught up in that Arctic hype just yet. Taking a look at total snow ratio, Kuchera. This is yesterday afternoon's European as well. You can see this system does bring a few inches, but mainly for higher peaks here. Doesn't really impact Snoqualmie Pass too much, maybe a couple inches for Stevens. But then as we go out a little bit, you can see BC doing better with these initial systems. And we scroll off into the future a little bit more here, and you can kind of see some of that colder air making its way down, bringing some mountain snows all the way down through Oregon, Idaho, the Rocky Mountains of Montana, Blue Mountains out there, higher terrain, eastern Washington also. So something to look forward to in Fantasyland. We'll break that down day by day and see how these systems trend. Looks like every place right now is below that threshold. If you're to the left of that red line for SeaTac, for Boeing Field, for Everett and Tacoma Narrows, you should be doing fine as far as landslides are concerned across the area. And this system isn't overly wet coming in today, so we should be all right. This is 8 to 14 day precipitation probability outlook. You can kind of see just equal chances, but it's our rainy point of the year here, so this really isn't telling you too much. Could still be wet during this time frame all the way through November 25th, and this kind of hints at some of that colder air coming down later in the period, November 19th through the 25th there. So definitely something to watch here over the next few days. We'll try to work out those details as we go. So anyway, yeah, let's see if we can get the 54,000 subscribers today. What amazing. You guys are doing great here. This channel is possible because if everybody comes back and views and watches daily. If you want to click and become a member, click that join button down below as well. Helps the page out. There's also a store down there. You can buy Pacific Northwest Weather Watch gear. If you know of something else you'd want to see as far as designs on some of the clothing, go ahead and let me know and I can actually add that in there. But anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. We'll continue to watch this potentially active pattern continue on in through November, and we'll do this again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.